Hello and welcome back to the Wonders of the Mind. In our previous video, many of you have requested to know more about ADHD. Guess what? Request granted. As always, as we go through this video, we will be guided by our trusty and friendly Dr. Bianca. With that said, let us wander towards the depth of ADHD. Now before we even go deeper, what is ADHD, Dr. Bianca?
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder or ADHD is said to be the misunderstood mental health problem. It is a medical condition where a person differs in brain development and brain activity from an average human. In that sense, ADHD greatly affects an individual's behavior. It also affects an individual's attention, the ability to sit still, and self-control, to which can be greater or less than what one normally does.
Great! Now that you know more about ADHD, did you know that it has 3 types? In the field of ADHD, each individual's conditions vary in symptoms, traits, and frequency that stands out, which affects the individual's life in various ways. These conditions were grouped into the 3 types of ADHD: the hyperactive impulsive type, the inattentive type, and lastly, the combined type. One may ask, how do I know which type I am? Or may say that it's a struggle as it's difficult to understand how ADHD works. Let me tell you what. Even if you're having a difficulty understanding ADHD, it's fine. So are we in the rest of the world too. In fact, recent researchers have found that ADHD is more complex than originally thought. So it's understandable that you are confused, just as I am. Anyways, we have our dependable doctor to enlighten us regarding the 3 different types of ADHD.
The 3 types of ADHD are the hyperactive impulsive type, inattentive type, and combined type. Generally, the hyperactive impulsive type involves movements, inattentive type involves attention span, and the combined type, as it reads, combines the 2 types into one. To better understand the differences of these types, let us have a look at the interview of my patients diagnosed with ADHD. These are Clarence, Erin, and Rika. Observe closely.
It's quite shocking actually how people don't know or have any idea how common ADHD really is, because for me, once I knew what was happening and become aware of the situation, I was like, yeah, I'm not alone in this. There's a lot of us out there who are even unaware of the symptoms of ADHD.
Well, there are times when I don't really want to tell, people that I have ADHD. They don't usually care about it. Some even don't recognize it as disorder.
At first, I didn't feel anything about it at all, since the symptoms seems too normal to me as an average person. It's not really something that can be observed almost immediately, as no one seems to pay attention to it attentively, unless of course you are aware of the symptoms. Somehow,
I have also heard some things like, hey, doesn't that make you a genius? Or like when I ask you for extra time in my activities, the other kids would say, you're already smart, what's the need for extra time? And I just said, nah, they don't understand. I think that for them, being smart is while being diagnosed with a mental illness such as ADHD is stereotypical.
Oh, there's one thing, people do think that ADHD is the same for everyone. It's not that we all go through the same thing, like being all over the place and seemingly carefree, but we do differ. It differs.
It's like looking at the monitor or a place full of cubicles where something is always happening. Something is always there. And you feel the urge to do something about it. It's like a rush energy.
When I was a kid, I just felt the energy, that constant feeling to look for something or do something. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Am I not supposed to write on this? Is it fine? Alright. Or wait.
I felt like people should be aware that these things can strongly impact one's life. And you don't know their story, but you can learn.
Yeah. It's something like that. I'm not saying that I'm not fidgety. I'm way more calm than my sister is.
It's a whole new experience, I tell you. Can I have that? Just like how my nanny said, especially in my early years. I was just so into my head, and it was really so hard to get out. Good luck.
When were the two diagnosed?
It was when the twins were 4 or 5 years old. To be honest, their parents, well, everyone in the family thought that both were just behaving like kids. Not until one of them became too much to handle. Clarence, he's the calm kid. You probably just find him in the corner of every room. Like this one, I guess. And his toys or his papers, doing scribbles. And mind you, that room was far from just being a mess. It's like he had his own world, and even his parents weren't able to penetrate. He doesn't listen well.
And Erin?
She was too adventurous. You just suddenly hear her squealing and shouting. Then you'll hear footsteps around the house, recklessly walking back and forth. There was even a case where she went out without our knowledge to run around the house and climb a tree. Thank goodness her twin spotted her from the window.
Do you think there's a reason as to why they got ADHD?
I think it was probably because of family or what they call genetics. There are undiagnosed members too, actually, not just the twins. And I think that Olivia's sensitive pregnancy had also contributed to the reason.
Now that we have all seen these amazing people, let us take a look at them one by one. Erin, we've seen how she spoke. She was so full of energy that it affected her speed of speech. Her hands couldn't keep still and kept fidgeting with whatever she could hold, and is undeniably chatty. Throughout her interview, you could notice that she seemed unable to sit still as she kept screaming in her seat. This amplified by her nanny's statement when she was a child who runs, climbs, and talks loud at random. These symptoms that Erin has led to her being diagnosed with the hyperactive impulsive type of ADHD. The individuals diagnosed with hyperactive impulsive ADHD performs excessive movements for a certain environment and acts hastily without much thinking. The symptoms for this type of ADHD includes being fidgety, climbing, running, inappropriate places, talks too much, difficulties in waiting for his or her turn, unable to play or engage in hobbies quietly, interrupts others, and blurts out even if a question isn't completed. In Clarence's case, he seemed far off reality. At first, he seems bothered by how pens and papers were arranged. His eyes were fixated somewhere else that is not the camera. When he talks, he often trails off from what he is saying and ends up doing unnecessary things like taping the pen, folding the paper, looking outside, and such, doing various things in a short amount of time. The symptoms seen in Clarence led professionals to diagnose him with inattention type of ADHD. The inattentive, inattention type diagnosed individuals are known for their inability to keep focus, not because they want to. The symptoms for this type of ADHD includes not being able to pay close attention to details, short attention span, does not seem to listen when spoke to, has difficulty following through instructions, has difficulties involving fixed or organized tasks, avoiding tasks requiring mental effort for a long period of time, tends to forget tasks or things needed in everyday life, and of course, getting easily distracted. In Rika's case, it is quite difficult to see what the symptoms are as they seem too normal. However, if you have paid close attention, there were parts of the interview where she is seen to have such an energy, then suddenly quiets down having a mother of her own. Like what was seen with the twins, she also fiddled with her hands and was quite distracted during the interview. With that said, the symptoms from hyperactive impulsive type and inattentive inattention type can be seen in Rika, who has been diagnosed with combined type of ADHD. Some may think that this type would be the rarest of the three, but in fact, combined type is the most evident one. The symptoms for this type is as how one reads it. It combines the two earlier types of ADHD, which causes an individual to turn from being all giddy and energized to just sitting down and minding whatever comes to their mind. The symptoms for these types of ADHD usually shows as early as the child is 4 years old. To be diagnosed with ADHD, one must have at least 5 certain symptoms that had already lasted for 6 months. Here ends my discussion about ADHD for today.
Now that was a whole ride. Let us remember the key points of today's discussion. ADHD is known as Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It is a medical condition involving an individual's brain development and brain activity, which affects how they behave in a normal setting. It has 3 main types: hyperactive or impulsive type, inattentive or inattention type, and finally, the combined type.
Reminders: this video is for educational and information purposes only. Consult professionals about this matter if you think you have the symptoms. We'll list trusted offices and facilities down below if you're interested for consultation. As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congrats! You have learned about another disorder today.
Thank you for watching Wonders of the Mind. We'll be uploading another lesson on Thursday, so feel free to comment down below another topic you would like to discuss. In the meantime, you may check on our video about OCD. Once again, thank you and see you next time.